Hey there guys, John.Hunter. I'm back this week with a video on the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac condo guidelines that just took effect September 18th. So Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac got together and they've added some new guidance. Now they've always underwritten guidelines. They have focused on things like, is there an outstanding lawsuit? What's the financial situation for the homeowner association? Do they have enough reserves? That type of thing. They've focused on that quite a bit over the years. And that's usually the criteria that they go off of. They underwrite each individual condo, every transaction. They look at these condominium complexes to make sure that they meet these guidelines, right? So now the new rules are really targeting what they call the aging infrastructure, right? So all of these condominiums, especially ones that have been around for a long time, of course, there's wear and tear. They need repairs, right? Roofs, decks, parking lots. Those are real common ones we see quite a bit, right? So all of the rules are about that. So they really are focusing on critical repairs, deferred maintenance that affect overall livability and affordability, right? Because you have to remember, the majority of condo buyers are first-time home buyers. It's just the nature of that market. So having a special assessment that, increases their mortgage payment or their housing payment by hundreds of dollars because of a repair that wasn't saved for, say, by the association, or was unforeseen, some critical repair that, leaking roof or water damage in the crawl space or something like that. Obviously that can affect somebody's ability to make the mortgage payment and afford the place. I see it all the time where there'll be some big special assessment and then you'll just see a slew of condos come for sale because the people can't afford it. And so that's what they're trying to get ahead of here. And so the guidelines are trying to catch that before it becomes an issue. Now that can cause a problem for new buyers and especially sellers, so that maybe bought into a complex that maybe have a critical issue or two that Fannie Mae had no problem with 6 months ago. Now all of a sudden they won't do a loan in there. That can affect your ability to sell. So this stuff is important to know. So let's just jump right into some of the new requirements. So the new requirements are that the condo complexes are required to define any critical repairs, major deficiencies, deferred maintenance deficiencies, and material deficiencies with the quality of construction, including routine repairs. And they're going to deny any project that they feel has significant repairs that are needed or critical repairs. So that's new. That they weren't really looking at that as much as if they were looking at whatever's right now, but not necessarily maybe something the association hasn't quite addressed yet, but they knew was there. Also, they're going to require that we review all structural and mechanical inspections that have been performed in the last 3 years. Now, that's a question we haven't asked. So we're going to be looking at those. And if we see that there's major deficiencies, then they're going to have an issue with that. That's a big one, I think. One other, along the same lines, there's a new requirement as far as special assessments. If there's a special assessment they deem unfunded, right? The association hasn't figured out how to pay for it. They're basically going to stick it to each individual unit owner of $10,000 or more. That condominium is no longer eligible for a Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac financing. That's a big one, right? Special assessments of 10 grand are very common. Sometimes they can be significantly more than that. And if it's considered unfunded, and there isn't either they haven't saved for it or there isn't a way to pay for it, they're going to deny that condo complex, which means every loan after that comes across, they're going to say no to as well until it's remedied. So that is actually probably the biggest one that we're going to run into, having issues where a couple months ago we could do it and now we can't. That is going to be a big surprise to a lot of sellers because that directly affects your ability to sell, which is going to directly affect your price. So that one, I think, is probably one we're going to run across more than anything else. Now, the silver lining to this is they've created a what they call CPM, which is a condo project manager. Almost forgot that last word. I always do that. Anyway, the CPM, which is condo project manager, they created a portal basically that when Fannie Mae comes in and approves these condominiums, it goes on the list. Now, why that's significant is, see, FHA and VA have always done that. They have a condo approved list that we can look up. And if it's approved, then there's not a whole lot for us to do once it's already approved. Now, conventional, we would still have to underwrite them each one individually. It wouldn't matter, right? Now, if it's on that list, on that approved list, then we don't have to go through this process. It's automatically approved, which is going to save a lot of money. Because getting a resale cert and all these condo docs filled out, just to have a condo questionnaire, right, which is either a limited or a full review, could be like 30 questions. Just to have that filled out by these management companies, some of them will charge us $200, $250, which of course we have to pass on just to fill out a form, right? So being on that list eliminates that, which is going to save a lot of money, I believe. And it's going to streamline the process once these condominiums have been approved. It's going to take a little while to get a significant amount of them approved, but I think they've already done like 50,000 of them, from my understanding. It's a pretty significant number that's already on this list. So if they're on the list, that's great. Now, if they deny it for some reason, it's listed as the status is called unavailable. If its status is unavailable, we cannot do a loan in there on that with that complex unless whatever is outstanding is remedied. And then, of course, we have to prove it. And then that list is updated, and then they're okay. So the silver lining is that creation of that list will streamline the process for the vast majority of complexes, but there is going to be quite a few that may have been financeable before that aren't now. So really, as a seller, this is paramount that if I was going to if I owned a condominium and I was going to list it for sale, I would get ahead of it and maybe figure this out up front, and maybe request those documentation up front, and have somebody like myself or another lender who has a condo department that does this kind of stuff look at it for you to determine if you're going to run into any issues, because it can really make or break a sale. You don't want to get into contract just to find out 3 weeks down the road when you've already made plans to move and everything's in motion, just to find out that your condominium complex is not financeable because a couple buildings need new decks, something like that. So it can be a real problem. It's nice to get ahead of it. So just like anything, the rules are really, it's all about the interpretation. So as we get into this and we get more feel for how strict they're going to be with critical repairs, as far as unfunded project, that type of thing, we're going to get more guidance on this. It's just a little bit of an unknown at this point. Hopefully it'll quickly become known. I believe it will. Most of the time, that's the way these work out. It's always scary with the unknowns, but call before you list. If you're a buyer, it's just one more thing we really need to pay attention to when we're out there looking. Stick to that approved list and you're safe. And that's kind of where it goes. So my question to you, though, is what is your craziest HOA story, if you have one, about a condominium complex? I had one not that long ago. It was a 10-story condo in downtown Chicago. And this entire building of like 500 units was held hostage because the doorman, they have a doorman, got in a fist fight with somebody. And there was a lawsuit, just so out of Jerry Springer, right? It was all on video and everything, but there was like this crazy fist fight. And because of it, nobody in this complex could sell to a buyer that needed financing because of this. And they're held up for like 3 years, right? Destroyed people's values in that building. It was just the craziest, most unreasonable thing ever. But that's the nature of condo lending. And I think these new rules, we're going to see a little bit of that craziness. So anyway, I'd love to hear any stories you have. If you like this, if it's helpful, like, share. If you're a realtor, you have any questions, feel free to reach out, answer any questions that you have, especially if you have a seller who has a condo and you want to figure out where you stand with that. It's always great to be proactive. So have a great weekend. Have a great week, what's left of it. And I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.